All right, we're just gonna skip the intro because Melissa, intros are for fools. So we're just gonna jump. They're so silly. But anyways, you just recently got back from tour, which I've heard tour is kind of tiring. It's a lot of work. So talk to me about it. How you feeling? How'd it go? Give me the details.
I'm feeling good. Actually, I was one of the lucky ones who only got sick towards the very, very end of the tour. So I
Mm,
was very happy to be able to play all the shows and to perform with hopefully my full potential, I think.
sure.
And it was a lot of fun. Especially I had to play two shows every show night, one with Ad Infinitum and one with Camelot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I was a little nervous, like touring in the fall and singing with two bands, but it went beautifully. So very happy.
Yeah, and that's you're right. That's kind of a double whammy because you've got A, being a little sick, but B, it's cold. Depending on where you are, the weather's a little bit more
Mm.
dry. That always makes it a lot harder to sing. So yeah, I'm sure you did great though. I'm sure you did fine. You're a pro. You've been doing this for a couple years, something like that.
A couple years.
A couple years. Um, well, anyway, I appreciate you coming back on the channel. If this is anybody watching, if this is your first video with Melissa, you've been on the channel before, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to have you back on the channel because we've been doing a lot more on the channel. We still do our deathcore, our death metal, but we've been really branching out into more melodic spaces a little bit more intentionally. And our other coach, Verona, who couldn't make it today, unfortunately, has been helping us with that in doing a lot of like symphonic metal. And it's my understanding that y'all have been like, that's a lot of your roots, but you've been kind of moving away from that. Is that going to be represented here in Outer Space, or does this still have some of those symphonic metal sounds to it?
So now like you said, we kind of moved away from symphonic metal. I would say we started this a few, like a little while ago, because if you listen to every record back to back, you'll see that the first one was very, very symphonic, and then we kind of moved away from symphonic and went more modern with more modern
Mm-hmm.
sounds. And but still, we were a little bit concerned about moving too far away because we started out as a symphonic metal band. And for this record, we decided to, let aside all the fears and what if and what will people think, and concentrate on what we really wanted to do, and what makes sense for us right now and what represents where we are right now. And yeah, there aren't many symphonic elements left in our music, but the core of songwriting is the same. So it's I would say it's just a natural evolution.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I don't want to do it. See you later. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm actually really excited because, I for me personally, I think that as long as an artist is being genuine, like generally their stuff's going to be good. If they're being true to themselves and they have the skill to do it, which you all definitely do, then it's going to be good, right? There are a couple bands who have made some pretty heavy genre switches that I wasn't a big fan of, but we won't talk about it.
Oh,
We won't talk about it. But let's go ahead and let's get
on
into
camera.
it. No, yeah, not on camera. No, I've actually mentioned it on the channel before.
Oh.
But I'm ready to go ahead and jump into it. I'm really excited to hear this song. Anything you want to mention about this song first for me to kind of look out for? Maybe themes or maybe new vocal techniques you're bringing to the table, anything like that? Or like everybody else, you're going to make me go in like absolutely blind?
Oh. No, go blind. Let's go blind. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what you will say about it. Because, okay, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
We played a lot with dynamic changes.
Mm. Okay. All right. Still a little vague, but that's enough for me to, get at. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and let's do it. Ad Infinitum, Outer Space. I'm just gonna push play. No weird YouTube editing pause. Let's just jump into it. You already said you could hear it, so here we go. That napalm intro is aggressive all the time.
singing out of tune, like a rose just about to bloom. Hold on tight, yeah, I'll be ready soon.
Okay, I'm already pausing it. I'm doing it. I'm already pausing it. So first and foremost, like obviously, like we were talking about on before the call, you know, I very much am a screamer first and a singer second. I love to sing. I can do it pretty well, I think. You know, I do give the occasional singing lesson. Mostly I just leave that for Verona. But the first thing I'm hearing is this like big, like really rounded scream. And I know that you've screamed before, but this was so like in your face, right? No holding back, right? And it's really interesting too because of how long you're holding that scream. So that scream to me sounds like a very false chord based scream, right? Which is my main thing. I love a good false chord scream, but one of the things about it is holding on to it. There are a lot of different things you have to do. So talk to me. We're going to talk about your singing because you made some really cool compositional choices. I'm really excited to talk about. But talk to me about that scream because that's a solid scream, no surprise. But yeah, holding it out, tone, placement. Yeah, I'm just interested to hear about that scream from you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, I'm very happy that you're mentioning the length of it because this is something that, you know, when you're in the studio, you can do one take. Oh, I didn't hold it long enough. Let's do it again, etc. Until you have the perfect scream. But then you have to do it live as well.
Yeah.
And this is something that kind of took some practice because we've played it now quite a few times, and actually because we recorded it that way and because I wanted to do the same live, I had some kind of level up moment where really I learned how to do this live every single night. Which, you know, in the studio, it was the first time I tried to do something like this. And I had to like do it a few times until I actually managed to do it.
Yeah.
But now that I've done it, like, I don't know, I would say about 50 times live since then.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Now it's a walk in the park. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting too because there are different ways that we can add some length to our false chord growl. You know, there's, you know, adding twang to narrow the top of the vocal tract. There's adding pitch to obviously get some airflow management from the vocal folds. There's a lot that you can do with like your posture and the way you're supporting, you know, the utilization of the core. For you, what were some of the main techniques you used to hold on to the scream, or was it kind of just a little bit of all those?
So definitely posture live. Every time this moment comes, you can see that I'm really like grounded and like using the full support of my body actually. Very often I'm trying to think. I think I have usually the, you know, foot on the riser and like this position, which is like the cliche of the screamer, I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yeah, I think like, you know, controlling the airflow as much as possible. In addition to that.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's really, it's one of those things that you feel almost silly saying it because it's like singing 101, but with false chord vocals, posture really is so incredibly important. Like we played at Euroblast in Germany in October, and it was the first time I'd played live on stage in 8 years. And I really, yeah. And we did pretty good too. Thank goodness. And like, I really like was thinking like, okay, perfect posture, you know, feet apart, shoulders kind of back, nice and straight. Don't puff out your chest. Now, one really cool thing that you did from there, and I kind of want to go back and listen to it again, is the way you chose to sing afterwards, right? I think one thing that, you know, there are a lot of metalheads that are very open to singing. They love singing. But there are also a subset of metalheads who will have nothing to do with it. And I think sometimes that what they miss is that how much like storytelling you can do with your singing, right? So you go from this big aggressive scream, and now you're singing with varying levels of airflow. You're on the word bloom, you're like kind of hanging, and then, you know, not like popping the word out, but giving it a little bit of emphasis. And I think that obviously it suits the music, you know, very well. And then your drummer coming in at the perfect time with that fill, that was killer. But when you were writing that section of the vocals, you know, and thinking about, because it's not just about the notes, right? It's about your tone and how you deliver it. Were you thinking about that scream leading into the singing, or were you mostly just this is what I do a lot of the time, mostly just being like, okay, what's the song need? I'll do whatever that is. Talk to me about the decision of that type of singing after the scream.
Yeah, so we were writing this song. We were all together in we rented a little Airbnb in Germany, and Nick had some riff already like demoed to present to us, and we were listening to it, and we were just like vibing to it, and like, yeah, the scream is, I think, the thing that came first. We were listening to this riff, and I was like screaming whatever I was screaming because we didn't have lyrics, but I was just like, yeah, this needs this right now. And then I think, if I remember correctly, I think I said, it would be nice to go to tone it down and to just like go more atmospheric before the chorus kicks in again, to just give this breather a little bit, like not being full on all the time, but like give some contrast and give something to eat, you know, like some like a plate, and you have some broccoli and some meat and some potatoes, and you have different tastes and the little sauce. Yeah.
Right. And I think that you achieved that extremely well. I'm gonna go ahead and keep playing from here. I was gonna go back, but I kind of want to move forward, and I want the viewers to think about this, right? Think about when you're listening, and I think that this is one thing. Obviously, you know, this is a skill that a lot of people have, but I think that this is one that you are very good at with ad infinitum. I'm leaving that in. I'm not cutting it out. That's staying. With ad infinitum, I think that you're really good at, and I think that, you know, you said you mentioned something. You said a lot of our symphonic elements are gone, but I think that your storytelling and your singing has stayed with, because symphonic metal, one of the best things about it, in my opinion, is how well the singers tell stories, right? And I'm hearing some of that here. So I have to, Melissa, I have to disagree with you. I think you do have some of those sounds in just your approach to singing. So that's my hot take. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's hear where you take this. I'm very excited.
My satellite is floating round and round. My whole world is turning upside down. In this celestial maze, you're my guiding light. I know that every cage has a way out.
I'm pausing it right there because I'm a punk. So one thing you're doing really well, and this is one of the most common things that new singers struggle with, right? And I'm interested to hear what it was like for you, what your process was, is that switch between the head voice and the chest voice, that dang vocal break that we all, well, you don't have to, but so many of us spend so much time learning to smooth out and to move through. You know, and you have moments here where you're doing it very, very seamlessly, very, very seamlessly. And it's interesting because there's a crossover with screaming as well, like switching from a high scream to a low scream. I've noticed, and this is just from my experience, this is just anecdotal, that when I get somebody who can bridge really smoothly, generally they can move from high screams to mid or low screams really smoothly, which is interesting. So talk to me about, you know, and obviously this is a trained process. This is a long process, but I know people are going to be curious about it. They're going to have questions. Talk to me about that switch from, you know, that movement across the vocal break that you do, because it's so challenging for so many people. Did that take you a long time to learn, or was it kind of natural? Some people just have it and it's like, you know?
That's a good question because I cannot point the moment when it became smooth, because I remember working on this for a long time, with a vocal coach and then on my own. And I think it just takes a lot of practice. For example, I know that from the moment I started to train my voice until now, my range has expanded a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so with this, I'm guessing that the place of the switch has also changed.
Mm-hmm.
And like doing exercises, going back and forth and going, like, for example, this ramp
Yes,
where
yes,
you go
yeah.
from low to high and then back to low. I've done a lot of this to make sure that that there's not this little yodel,
Oh
the
yeah.
little.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess this is it, but I cannot tell you when this changed. I think it's been through years of practicing.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer, and I will tell you why. Because a lot of times when singers are training, especially new singers, I think they have this expectation that they're just going to have a moment where all of a sudden they can do it. They're like, oh, today I suck and tomorrow I'm amazing. And in actuality, so many things happen over time on a gradient, I'll tell you that for me, it was hard. It was tough to learn to be able to smooth that out. I was doing all the boring stuff, scales and vowels and airflow and like all of it, right? And I can't either. I can't tell you like the day or the time. It's just sort of, I found myself looking back and being like, hey, how long have I been doing that for? That's interesting. But your choices of where to be in this head voice. And then I heard like this little growl, like this little gravelly note that you did to get up to like closer to a belt, right? That was a really cool transition. I can play it again. Obviously, you know what I'm talking about because you performed the dang song. But those little growls and those things are really interesting to me because so many people put so much effort into them. Can you talk to me about, and again, I'll play it again if you'd like, but can you talk to me about that little transitionary growl that you used to sort of branch up to some of those higher, more projected sounds that you made a couple seconds ago here?
So you're talking about the little more raspy effect of the voice when I go higher, right?
Yeah.
I think it's, in the studio, we try a lot to make the song make sense and make the vocal lines make sense. And for me, something that is very, very important is that the interpretation makes sense with both the energy of the song and the lyrics. And I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but it makes sense with what comes after.
Okay.
And so for me, it's important that like when you know that the energy is going up, and there's like a need for some emotional change in the way I sing, I will make it happen through the different colors that I can put in my voice, like with either if I want to go softer or warmer or more airy or harder or more raspy. Those are all things that we take quite some time to think about in the studio when we were recording. There's been quite a few songs where I started with an approach and then we were like, it doesn't make sense when we listen through again. What does it need? And we're like, okay, we need more attitude. We need more this, more that. And this is one of those moments.
Absolutely, and that makes sense too. And I'll just wait and see what happens now that you've told me. Hey, wait and see what happens. But I'm definitely getting this sense of building, right? I'm definitely getting this sense of building sound. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going here. Let's see what happens. Yeah. I'm gonna let it keep going, but
Out of sight, I'm out of my mind, and I scream, I'm sorry on the radio. Can you hear my echo? I'm out of sight, I'm out of my mind, and I'm screaming.
yeah.
On the radio, can you hear my echo?
I'm pausing it there because I'm a punk. So yeah, I let it go a little longer because, you know, it's funny. I'll pause before a breakdown. I'll pause before a guitar solo, but I hate interrupting ambience. So I didn't want to do that. There's so much cool stuff that just happened there. So I'm really hoping that, you know, like we talked about, the majority of my audience is very open to both harsh vocals and cleans. But for the portion of my audience that doesn't really listen to cleans, I hope you're watching this video because there's so much cool stuff to talk about. First and foremost, that switch from, you know, and obviously studio is very different than live. It's a different beast. But as someone who switches between harsh vocals and clean vocals a lot more than I like. You know, it's a pain. It's easy once you learn how to do it, but it's tough. You know, you switch not just from like a chesty false chord right down here, right, but then into like a really light like falsetto like head voice sound. That's a tough switch to do. That's a touch. And I'm just, you know, you don't have to tell me how you do it, but if I was to do that in the studio, I would do those separately and then just worry about doing them together live. You know what I mean? So talk to me about that switch. That's an ambitious switch.
Yeah, so we did quite a few takes in the studio, but it was all one take. And then, of course, you see if there's like things to, like if one part isn't good, if we have to redo it, blah, blah, blah. You know what it is. But
Yes.
I tried many times to do it in one take, especially because everything has to kind of make sense together.
Mhm.
And obviously live, I have to do it in one take,
Yeah,
in one
right.
go. And the tricky part about this live is that, you know, it comes in the middle of the set and everything is kind of intense and you have this energy going on. And usually what happens is that the few seconds where Adrian is doing the atmospheric guitar and like, you know, like there's no vocals, it's my few seconds where I'm like, okay, calm down. So I can, you know, focus on these very, very subtle notes, which is like, again, easier when you've done it 50 times. But it was very tricky in the beginning. Like the first time we played it live, I remember I was like, okay, now I have to calm down. And there's something happening, you know, when your pulse is high and when your energy is high, to just calm everything down, to nail those notes that are supposed to be calm and almost naked because the whole band is quiet. But yeah, this switch, again, in the studio, it's easier because you're in a calm setting. And yeah, like I just explained, live it requires much more focus because I don't know how it is for everyone, but I'm guessing that I'm not alone feeling like this when you're, you know, the excitement and the energy. Those are the notes that are more difficult to nail when you're supposed to be, you know, all calm and it goes the switch from a chest voice to a falsetto, which goes in a very subtle way, and then you go back to power. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's my explanation.
No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because it's you know, that's something that I think is harder about singing than screaming. You know, I'm not really into the discussion of like, oh, singing's harder, oh, screaming's harder. I think both have their immense challenges. But, you know, when you are moving through these spaces, finding that center of calm in such a small period of time can be very, very difficult. When, you know, on stage, you're kind of, especially if you're in a band that's just all screams all the time, your maximum, you know, nonstop, you're always at 11. So it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it seems like from what you're saying, because I've never been lucky enough to catch y'all live, but it seems like from what you're saying, it's very important for you to perform as close, if not identical, to what's on the album. Is that correct?
Yeah. I always try also when I'm in the studio to do something that I will be able to do live,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to settle for a lesser version than what people have heard on the album.
Sure.
And I mean, in some situations it's necessary because you have some like overlaps of vocals and things like this. But when it comes to things like this, moments like this that are, for me, at least in this song, for me, this is one of my favorite moments because the vocals do something that really tell a story, that are interesting to hear. I would not want to settle for something different or something less difficult,
Sure.
because I don't know, it's just personal challenge, I guess.
Yeah, you know, it's your own personal standard, and that's awesome, and people appreciate that. People love it. It's another thing about harsh vocals that is, I think, a little bit more forgiving, which is that obviously, you know, if somebody goes to see like a deathcore band or something, they're going to want to hear those specific pig squeals, those specific gutturals. But so many metal vocalists, like harsh metal, extreme metal vocalists, whatever we want to call them, you know, they go on a stage and they'll just be like, I want to do this section as lows instead of highs, or I don't want to do a guttural. I want to do like a like tunnel throat. And there's that, you know, nobody cares. But I think with clean singing, a lot of people are like, oh, well, on the album she did like a falsetto, and here she kept it in her chest voice. That sucks. And you're like, you know, I think in that respect it's a little bit harder, right? Let's go ahead and keep going though. I also loved that little vocal run you did, right? Just kind of, because ambient sections, it's hard. It's not hard, but ambient sections need the right amount of interest to keep them interesting, but not enough to dominate them. And that's something that takes a lot of skill. So, you know, scream, then this falsetto, then these lighter notes, leaning into that voice a little bit, vocal cords connecting a little bit more. Ooh, we get a vocal run. Ooh, we're building up. Very cool. Good, really good balance here in the writing. I love it. Let's keep going. Dang, what a cool video too. Those harmonics, those little just ambient do 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 on the fretboard. Tasty, delicious. Is there more? Oh no, it's just there. It's just there end screen. So one thing I think is a really cool choice here is it would be very easy on that outro. Well, okay, maybe not easy, but it would be a realistic and reasonable choice to just power belt the whole thing. And I think that would sound really good. I think, you know, just like power belting the whole thing. I think that would work super well, but you chose not to do that. There were definitely some moments where you were, you know, giving it your all, but there was a lot of, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these might be the dynamics you were talking about. There was a lot of like full voice, you know, area voice. Oh, now I'm, you know, up in my mix. Now I'm back in my chest. Now I'm belting really loud. Oh, now I'm more reserved. So it was really like there was a huge sense of like this back and forth, but it never felt like jarring. Like, you know, you hear some singers sometimes where you feel like you're in the car and they're switching so much. They're like, it's like being in the car with a new driver who keeps hitting the brakes and you're like, oh, you know? Yeah, exactly. I didn't get that at all. So writing to that degree is tough and it takes time. How long would you say it took you and obviously you weren't tracking your hours, but how long would you say it took you to write the vocal sections for this song? And do you write more on your own, or is it a very collaborative, writing the vocal parts? Is that very collaborative with your band?
I think for this song in particular, we wrote most of it when we were together in the same room.
Right.
Because I was mentioning we sometimes we gather, we rent an Airbnb and we spend a week, and then we write as much as we can. We have 1 or 2 songwriting stations, we have demos, we have songs that we start from scratch. And this I think we were, when you're in the zone and everyone is like bringing something to the table, and then there's someone who has an idea, someone who picks up on that idea and has another idea. And I think it happened pretty quick. Like let's say the skeleton of the song and of the vocals might have happened in, I would say, a couple of days.
Nice.
Like,
wow.
We didn't work on it 24 hours for 2 days, but I think the song went from a demo to a very beginning of a demo to a final demo within a couple of days. And so I don't know how much, like the portion of it that was dedicated to vocals, but no, I actually cannot.
It's okay.
I would estimate maybe, I don't know, maybe I would estimate 5 hours of work on the actual vocal lines, and then lyrics aside.
Dang.
On top of it.
Wow, that is, I mean, and I guess, you have been doing this for a while, so of course you know how to find your groove, you know how to, but that's still, I find, very impressive. And I think that probably lends to the cohesion that this overall song has. You were all writing it together, See, I'm the total opposite. I'm a curmudgeon, I'm an old grumpy man, where when it's time for lyrics, like, yeah, I collaborate with my band a little bit, but I'm mostly like in here with the lights off. And if somebody's like, "Oh, I have an idea," I'm like, no, I'm more of a team player than that. But I usually do my stuff by myself,
For the lyrics, I'm the same, actually. The lyrics, I'm like, no, this is my department.
Yes.
And they're like, I have an idea. No, I'm joking. I listen, and then if it's smart, I will consider. But most of the time, the lyrics is me, because it has to, like, for me, the vocal lines come first and the lyrics come after.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, me too.
I make the lyrics fit the rhythm and the, like, what we want with, like, the vocal line has to be memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lyrics serve this vocal line, and then it's just usually something I do afterwards.
Yeah,
alone in the dark.
Yeah. Nobody. It's always interesting to hear people's process. Also, I want the viewers give the timestamp. I totally was trying not to laugh, and I spat a little bit of water on my desk. So if you saw that, put the timestamp in the comments, because I'm interested to see. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Well, that's that's the same thing. It sounds like we have that in common. One challenge that I'm going to be dealing with is that a lot of the music writing, me and the other guys in Kardashev, we get together, but now our guitarist, who does a lot of the main composition, he got married to a woman in Germany, so he lives in Germany now. He's gone.
Ooh.
And he lives in Cologne, and then our drummer is in Canada, and me and my bassist are in Arizona, but he lives like an hour away, so it's going to be like weird. But I love hearing that dynamic that y'all have of getting that Airbnb, because I think it really makes sense as to why the song sounds like it does. So cohesive, so much, like you said, so many dynamic movements, but none of them clash with each other. And then you've got amazing production, not just on the vocals but the instruments as well. Who does it say who did the production work on this album?
So it's both the band and Christopher Stierne. He did some production. Yeah, we worked closely together after the demos were ready.
That's about the same.
But we actually did quite a lot already during the process of writing the demos.
Yeah. Dang. Y'all got to leave some talent for the rest of us. Good golly. No, that's awesome. So I love this song. You know, I know that before the call, we were kind of talking about, oh, which song should we do? I think this was a great pick because it really has some awesome screams, but it's still, you know, it's still, I think it shows a lot of the stuff that's out there that we can really admire about singing. And yeah, the length of those screams, especially in the middle where you were holding out those phrases and you were articulating and you were saying lyrics, I was like, okay, shoot. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Thanks.
But you know, that's you know, that's pretty much it. I'm very impressed by this song. I'm really excited. You know, we're both getting scoped in this charismatic voice study. So I'm excited. I'm actually excited because I do the same scream that you do, but obviously it sounds really different when I do it. So it'll be interesting to see, like, you know, what it looks like for you and what it looks like for me and how the tissues are moving differently.
Yeah.
It'll be cool.
Absolutely. You know what? I've had my vocal cords checked before, like several times, but I think I've never screamed while the camera was down here. So I've never, like, I know you have, I haven't. I don't know how my vocal cords look like when I'm screaming. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you, it's surprisingly difficult because you've got that tube in your nose, and depending on the type of screaming you're doing, like your soft palate's going all which way, and it's hard to like relax, and like, you know, you get that feeling like you have to sneeze. But anyway, more to come on that. You'll be fine. I did it, but I just did it. I didn't get it recorded. I just did it when I went to see the ENT. But that's basically it. You know, it's 40 minutes for us. That's a short video. But I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this song. I really hope, I'm sure a lot of people watching this have already heard about y'all and they're excited for all that you guys have coming up. But for the people watching this that may be new to your music or new to this sound, you know, drop all the places that people can listen to you. Obviously, all streaming platforms, things they should be excited about. Just tell them a little bit about yourself before we wrap up here.
Ooh, so yeah, of course, all the streaming platforms. You can order the physical editions of the album on the Napalm Records store, and well, we'll be on tour in January, and there's one more announcement of well, yeah, let's just say that we will tour quite a lot next year, and not only in Europe.
Hey, yeah. Hopefully you come to Arizona, and hopefully it's on a good day, because I'll tell you, so often bands come through Arizona and they're like, hey man, we're gonna be here, and I'm like, that's right during my toddler's bath and bedtime, I'm so sorry, you know. But that's exciting. No. That's exciting. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been fun breaking out of the normal, you know, only harsh vocal thing, and hopefully everybody checks out more at Infinitum and we go from there. Sound good?
You. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. As always, many thanks, much love. I'm out.